Today I will address a very complex topic: the profound influence of Arabic philosophy, especially that of the Brethren of Purity, on the development of medieval Jewish philosophical thought, especially in the Iberian Peninsula and Yemen. It is a complex topic, and to understand the nature of this influence, it is necessary to consider several factors, such as the mechanisms of the transmission, the way in which the ideas were adapted, and the extent of interaction between the different philosophical traditions. The influence of the Brethren of Purity on Jewish thinkers was predominantly indirect and selective. There was no direct contact, such as a school or an academy for debate. It is uniquely that Jewish philosophers had direct access to the original writings of the Brethren of Purity. The influence occurred for the most part through compilations, translations, and citations in the works of the authors. The ideas were adapted by Jewish philosophers to fit into their own philosophical systems and to answer the specific questions of their communities. Not all of the ideas of the Brethren of Purity were adopted by Jewish philosophers. There was a careful selection of ideas that best suited their aims and traditions. Jewish philosophers such as the Philakra and others explicitly cited the Brethren of Purity in their works, indicating the importance they attached to these ideas. It is possible that some Jewish philosophers in personal contact with Arab scholars who were familiar with the works of the Brethren of Purity. It is possible that debates took place in synagogues and schools, which facilitated the transmission of knowledge. But to have a more comprehensive view, we must consider the influence of Neoplatonism on the formation of medieval Arab Jewish thought. This influence occurred through the transmission of texts of Greek ideas to the Arab world, where they were reinterpreted and adapted by Jewish philosophers. Neoplatonism, with its ideas about the emanation of the One, the hierarchy of universal beings, the universal soul, and the importance of philosophical contemplations, provided a theoretical framework that was widely used by Arab and Jewish thinkers to construct their cosmologies and theories about the nature of reality. The translation of Neoplatonic text into Arabic, which began in the 9th century, was fundamental to the dissemination of these ideas in the Islamic world. Medieval Jewish philosophers such as Ibn Gabirol and Maimonides were profoundly influenced by Arab Neoplatonic. They used Neoplatonist ideas to construct cosmologies, describe the nature of the soul, justify religious practice. One of the clearest examples of the influence of Neoplatonism on Jewish thought is Ibn Gabirol's work, The Source of Life. In this work, Ibn Gabirol presents a cohomology inspired by Neoplatonism, with a hierarchy of beings that emanate from the first essence. Maimonides and the Aristotelian Neoplatonic synthesis. Maimonides, in turn, created a synthesis between Aristotelian philosophy and Neoplatonism. He used Neoplatonic elements to explain the relationship between God and the world. Arab thinkers translated and interpreted Greek works that influenced Jewish thinkers. Both currents adapted their beliefs and convictions and sought to develop their own systems, making invaluable contribution to the formation of world philosophy. The influence of the Brethren of Purity was not restricted to one of two philosophers, but spread to several Jewish thinkers in Spain. Many of these philosophers explicitly acknowledged the influence of the encyclopedia on their works, as in the case of Ibn Sadik and Ibn Ezra. Even when there were no direct citations, the influence of the Brethren of Purity was evident in the argumentative structure and in the approach to various themes, as in the case of Ibn Ezra. Although there is scarcity of documentation between meeting of Muslim theologians and medieval Jewish theologians, both groups of scholars were not isolated, but rather part of a broader intellectual dialogue, in which Neoplatonic ideas were debated, adapted, and shared. The influence of the Brethren of Purity contributed to the formation of a more complex and diverse Jewish philosophical thought, paving the way for new interpretations of the rabbinic tradition.
Analyzing Jewish influence on Islam, a historical and theological perspective. The claim that Muhammad was influenced by Jews living in Arabian opens up a range of possibilities for detailed investigations into points of contact and divergence between these two great religions in the historical context. Pre-Islamic Arabia was a mosaic of cultures and beliefs, some with a strong Jewish presence in some regions. This coexistence provided an environment conducive to the exchange of religious ideas. However, both Judaism and Islam are monotheistic religions, which points to a common root, which facilitates the understanding of how the ideas of one religion may have influenced the other. Psychologically speaking, it is possible that there is a parallel of acceptance when we consider prophetic figures, as the of Muhammad as prophet, receiving divine revelations, finds parallels in the figure of Moses in Judaism. This assimilation may have facilitated the acceptance of Islam by Jews and other monotheists. The shift of the Qibla from Jerusalem to Mecca was a pivotal event in the history of Islam and had a significant impact on the unification of the Arab tribes. This shift was not merely a symbolic act, but a process laden with religious, cultural, and political significance. By establishing Mecca as the center of worship, Muhammad created a common focal point for all Muslims. This helped to strengthen the sense of unity and belonging to a religious community. Importantly, the shift of the Qibla represented a break with previous religious traditions and the assertion of a new religious identity. Mecca became the heart of Islam, a sacred place for all Muslims. The shift of the Qibla marked a clear distinction between Islam and Judaism, with which it shared many roots. It is worth noting that Mecca's connection to the story of Abraham, as the place where he would sacrifice his son Ishmael, reinforced the legitimacy of the new religion. By connecting to the figure of Abraham, Islam inserted itself into broader tradition, legitimizing its position as a true monotheistic religion.
The Jewish influence zero and island was profound and comprehensive, shaping many aspects of the new religion. However, some areas of thought were particularly influenced: monotheism and the conception of God. Both Judaism and Islam are strictly monotheistic. The belief in a single God, creation of all things, is a fundamental pillar in both religions. The conception of divine attributes such as omnipotence, omniscience, and goodness present many similarities between the two religions. The figure of the prophet as mediator between God and man is central to both religions. Both the Torah and Quran present a set of divine laws and commandments that guide the conduct of the faithful. Values such as justice, compassion, and honesty are shared by both religions. The belief in an afterlife and a final judgment is common in both traditions. The idea of paradise for the righteous and a hell for sinners is present in both Judaism and Islam. The practice of prayer, both individual and collective, is fundamental in both religions. Fasting is a common religious practice in both traditions. Some Islamic festivals such as Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha have parallels with Jewish festivals. Both Judaism and Islam have a linear view of history, with beginning, a middle, and an end. History is seen as sequence of divine revelations, transmitted through the prophets. Islamic Sharia and Jewish halakha are complex systems that regulate all aspects of the lives of believers. Both religions base their laws on sacred texts and oral tradition. While I'm finishing the video, I think I got the message across. I hope you enjoyed the content. Consider subscribing to the channel, commenting and leaving a like, especially commenting. Thank you for following me this.